So we are at Fusion Max, which is an event which is organized in Brussels for the first time, and I'm talking with two of the speakers there, which is Olivier Blanchard and Joost de Valk, who both have their own specialties, social and search. And we're going to talk a little bit about the fusion between both of them. Oliver, first, could you really short introduce yourself to the viewers?
Sure. So my name is Olivier Blanchard, or Olivier Blanchard. I'm French. I actually lived in Brussels for 6 years, so it's nice to be back. And even though I'm a brand management guy by training, I have kind of recycled myself the last couple of years to help companies understand how to integrate social media into marketing, branding, business management. So they know how to use social media properly. Yeah. And it's kept me busy.
Yeah. Your Twitter handle is @brandbuilder.
@the brand builder.
The brand builder. Yep. Okay, we'll put that on underneath the video. And Joost de Valk, for those of you who don't know you, could you introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm an SEO and somewhat known as the WordPress guy, I guess, by now. So I do a lot of WordPress development and SEO, work a lot of WordPress stuff surrounding SEO.
But you're not here to talk about WordPress, you're here to talk about search?
I'm here to talk about search, which is good for a change. Okay,
so let's try to get some fusion between search and social. Olivier, what everybody wants to know is, of course, what makes social successful? Is there a short answer to that?
Is there a short answer to that? Yeah, I'm going to try to figure out what it is. I think, what makes social successful is that we're, at the core, culturally speaking, and even biologically, we're social animals, just like bees and wolves. And so we look for that connection between people. We look for that connectivity. And over the last 100 years of the Industrial Revolution, we've kind of grown apart. The work days have become a little bit longer than they used to be. We're more disconnected. The computer world put us at a desk with email and created kind of a separation between people. And over the last 10 years, with the advent of social communication, social technologies, and what we now call social media, we've actually found a way to reconnect with one another using these same technologies, which are, by the way, kind of addictive as well, because there's a lot of gaming and rewards, and so what you have is this perfect storm of decades of isolation and this kind of death of the human being and socialization being replaced now by this rediscovery of this social connectivity through technology that allows me to, even though I'm very mobile and I live in the United States, my family's in Europe, I have friends and colleagues and clients all over the world, I can be talking to them in real time any time of the day. I can use video, I can use my phone, I can use my computer. So all of this, so it wasn't a short answer, but all of this is basically creating an environment and an emotion which can be used by businesses or organizations or governments or basically any kind of organization to connect internally through collaboration and more effective collaboration, and to connect with their stakeholders or their consumers in a much more personal, real-time and kind of 24/7 kind of way.
So what we've been doing for centuries, only now faster and automate, using tools and
the handshake at the store where the owner used to know your name and knew your family and you were friends with, now has scaled to a global platform essentially.
Okay. Yes. What makes search successful?
Well, everyone does it, which is basically the same as with social, I guess. Everyone uses it, so there's a tremendous audience to be reached. And what is the biggest differentiator, I think, from original marketing things is that search actually is demand-driven, so people actually want something that you're giving them. And you're delivering it to them if you're doing it right. You're giving them what they want, and which makes it a lot easier to convert people, which makes it a very high ROI, high conversion.
So how do you use social within search?
Well, the funny thing is that it's changing very rapidly, because Google has always used links as a method of measuring authority and seeing whether you're relevant around a certain topic. And the new links are the social mentions that you get out there from people talking about you and your product and your company, etc. So actually all this social chatter is making it easier for search engines in a way to determine who's relevant and who's not. because you can have thousands of links by buying them, like Overstock. If nobody's talking to you and about you online, then on Twitter and on Facebook and everywhere else, and the search engines can see that now in large part, then you basically don't exist, and they can use that very well in their algorithms.
So Oliver, how do you use search within social?
Oh, what he said. So yeah, well, you know, it used to be really difficult to find information, and it was time consuming. If you needed to find a plumber or an expert in something, you opened the phone book. If you needed to do research on a company, you had Dun & Bradstreet, for example. You had encyclopedias, right? You remember, like the actual physical encyclopedias and law books, which all look nice now and they're still of value, but now you can basically log on to the internet, and whether you're using Google or another engine, you can just enter specifically what you need, a string of keywords, and make it very specific, and have sources or information right away. So that immediacy, that velocity of access to information, how specific it is, basically answers a really nice problem that used to be kind of like a big investment on the front end, either in time or in resources or both. And so what happens with search, when you lay that on top of it, is you constantly have people talking about things, discovering, actually doing searches for you that you might not have realized that you wanted to do. So you're, depending on how many people you follow, depending on how many people you subscribe to through their RSS feeds or through their Twitter accounts or their Facebook pages or whatever the source is, you might be accidentally and serendipitously connected to the type of information that you might need later. And so the social aspect of all these conversations and these interactions actually enriches the environment of search and might even pull you to do searches on things you might have never done before. On top of that, you look at Twitter, and I think it's search.twitter.com. Twitter has its own search engine within Twitter that allows you to do searches on certain keywords and topics, and that's pretty important for companies, for example, instead of just doing traditional SEO, to also kind of doing it backwards and look for mentions of their own business, their own brand name, their own product name, their own category, their own industry, and find out what people are saying. So now what you have is, instead of consumers doing research on you, you're also doing research on what the consumers are saying about you. And so you're adding layers to search that are very functional and very valuable for everybody.
Actually, that should be part of your content strategy for your SEO campaign, to actively go look out for what people are searching for and what questions they ask online. And all these things that you apparently aren't answering with the material you're already giving them, or the material they can't find. All these questions you can answer on your website and actually improve your SEO vastly by listening to that and tapping into all that knowledge.
Before I get to the question how they should work together, or if they can or cannot live without each other, where do they clash? Where do they not work together?
Ooh, wow. I don't know. I don't know that they don't. It's
as soon as you start cheating, if you start cheating either of them, they clash.
Yeah.
The thing is, cheating in these things is becoming harder and harder. Olivier mentioned in his presentation this morning, it's very hard to keep up appearances for 20 years. It's also very hard to keep buying links for 20 years. We've seen that in the last few months. So as soon as you start cheating anywhere, you have to cheat everywhere, and it's very hard to keep that up correctly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't think of that's a really good answer. I can't think of a way that they don't work together. It's almost, now that they are together, it's kind of like you have the coffee and you have the cream, and you can't get the cream out of the coffee anymore.
Yeah.
They're blended. And when you start building in social CRM as well, and your consumer profiles and your social profiles start to merge, and all the keywords and searches and reverse searches are all indexed, it's all part of one big mesh. It's just interwoven layers.
So the challenge here is for you guys to find a new term, social search. Is there something which is both?
Well, I think you use them together, but they're there for different reasons. So social is a lot, search is far more demand driven, where social can actually generate demand, which is basically what Olivier said as well. So you just need to do all of it. It's called marketing, but I think that's actually a filthy word for it, because it shouldn't be a department or something. It should be your organization, everything.
So is it a fusion of channels?
Well, it's definitely a fusion of channels. It's a fusion of functions too. I think it might even force us to rethink the whole concept of search. So far, search has been very kind of one directional in a way. The same way that marketing used to be one directional, where you created the message and you pushed it out to the masses. Search has been kind of the masses doing search on particular topics, and search is becoming so much more organic and coming from different directions that we might think of it more as kind of a collective intelligence. And I'm not saying intelligence as in intellect. I'm saying intelligence like espionage, without the negative connotations, but the type of data acquisition that we look for as humans. Use data acquisition is kind of not very human sounding, but yeah, some kind of collective, purposeful intelligence gathering that's from the top down, from the bottom up, and then everything in between.
So would you guys agree? No more search conferences, no more social conferences, just mix?
I'll let you answer that first.
Well, you can do conferences in either one, but I think both conferences would be quite technical, and talking about tactics and not strategies, because you can't do strategy for either without thinking of the other one.
Okay, so when it comes to strategy, they have to mix. When it comes to technical parts,
the tactics are different. Yeah.
How about you, Oliver?
Well, I look at social not as one kind of general discipline. So to me, a lot of people make the mistake of thinking of a social media expert as somebody who can kind of do all these social media things, whatever they are. And my experience has been that social backs into existing functions. So PR people, public relations professionals need to plug social media into what they're doing. Marketing professionals need to plug social media into what they're doing. HR, legal, sales, business development, everything. So when you look at it that way, I think that what you have is kind of a fork in the road for social media themed conferences. On the one hand, I think there's still a need for social media conferences where you're talking about strategies and tactics and technology, but in that particular instance, you need to have very specific tracks. So you need to have an executive or a strategic track for particular types of disciplines, and then you need to have other tracks that are more tactical and more technical. So for your IT professionals, there should be 3 or 4 sessions that are going to address their needs and the latest developments. For PR professionals, you need that as well. For social media VPs or communications VPs who manage PR, marketing, sales, etc., and how they blend into the corporate social media strategy, you need a different set of strategies. Yeah. And then the second type of conference, I think, goes with those specialties specifically. So for the PR community or for the customer service community, you need to have within a customer service conference, like an annual conference for an association, a very strong social media integration track that's going to address that. And if you do that, I think you'll create some value on both ends. What doesn't create value is having social media conferences where every blogger in the world is selling their 10-step way of getting more followers or getting more traffic to their blog.
They do rank, however, those posts.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they do.
Thank you guys very much. You can follow the both of them on Twitter, of course, at the Brand Builder and at Joost with Y-O-A-S-T.
Toast with a Y.
Yeah, Toast with a Y. Be sure to follow them because they need a couple of followers because they each only have about 20,000 or something. So thank you guys and have fun at Fusion Max.
Thank you very much.